In my line of work, there's a lot of like motivational speakers, like very famous coach like Tony Robbins. Or like, I mean, any Tony Robbins fans out there, just cover your ears for a little bit. I don't like him. But I've been having this conversation with a friend and a coach of mine. And he's a very big Tony Robbins fan. And I very often bash Tony Robbins. And like, I can see his sales pitch like 3 miles away.
Yeah.
Like, I know what he's doing. And like, I understand that he comes at it with like, potentially or hopefully like good intention angle. But I do see, the speeches and like the microphones and like the 2,000 people stadiums. And you're like, is that really necessary? And the spoiler is that not everybody thinks like me. There are people who genuinely think that someone who has their shit together is their model.
Yeah.
And having someone to aspire to is motivating to them. It's not to me. I'm very much like you. I prefer like to get my insights. I'm very, very extremely fortunate to have a lot of friends in the same line of work. There are coaches or they gravitate towards like personal development, and I get to talk to them very often about all these kind of things. And they are very honest with me and they're very vulnerable with me, and I'm with them. And we get to have these conversations where we both get to grow. And that's wonderful. And I do wish that everybody can get that. But I'm not motivated by the Tony Robbinses of the world because I don't know. I'm not a role model kind of person. I get this question a lot. Like, who's your role model? Like, I don't know. Someone, whatever, whoever comes to mind first. It doesn't really matter.
Well, for me, like people like Tony Robbins, anyone kind of like that on that level, right? It's not that, I mean, I can't like settle my brain, quiet my brain enough to have them help me, because in the back of my mind, and I don't know, I mean, but in the back of my mind, I'm always like there's always like this nagging question in the back of my mind, like, oh, is he for real? Or is he
am I just being sold to?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, is he just like a brilliant kind of like scam artist, kind of thing?
The answer is probably yes, but there are people who are willing to put up with it.
Well, who knows? Well, I don't know, right? I mean, but the thing is, like,
I say like scam artist like in the good way, like because like he is definitely selling a product and the product is helping people. If you look at it from the result perspective, if people are helped by whatever he's selling,
what does it matter, right?
What does it matter, right? It's just that some people have different. Like the end goal is the same. I want to, be more productive, be happier, be richer, be better at my relationships or whatever. If you get there, like who's to say that that's a bad thing?
Yeah.
I think that we again, the awareness comes to like, what is your preferred way to go at it?
Yeah, it's a very individual thing.
What is the process you want to get through? Like, do you want someone who just like motivates you, like every day, just tells you what you have to do, and like urges you on, and like quote unquote insults you, like if you don't do it? There are people who are genuinely motivated by that, and that's great for them, and that works. I'm not. I prefer to have a conversation with people, and I prefer to like take my time and have existential crisis every 3 days for like what am I doing with my life. And that's my process. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's better than another process, but knowing what works for you, it's a huge game changer. But that takes time.
Well, it's like televangelists too, right?
Oh,
like
Lord.
Okay, that's a different thing.
No,
but
okay,
it's sort of the same
those
thing,
are scam artists. They're like those are 100% scam artists.
Yeah, those are 1,000% scam artists. But it's the same thing. Like if a person's really getting like spiritual help,
right,
watching a televangelist, like then where do you draw the line? Like at the end of the day, like is it good or is it bad? You know what I mean? Like, well, then it really becomes like an individual thing, right? I guess.
My coach friend would actually say that that's about intention. Like, and again, you have to assume intention, because unless you really go to Tony Robbins or to the televangelist, like even if you ask, they will probably say, I'm doing it for the good of the people or whatever. But, critical thinking comes into mind. And like, that the televangelist was telling you that God wants him to have a yacht. It's probably not doing it for the good of the people. Okay. But, if someone is doing it with the right intentions, and it's helping people, just because I don't like his methods doesn't mean that it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Although there are, then we can go into like cult territory, which is another like pet like topic on mind. One of my favorite podcasts is about cults, cryptids, and conspiracies. That's literally the name of the podcast. Shout out to Chelsea and Christina. It's a very, very good podcast.
I need to check that out. Yeah,
it's very good. It's very, very good. They talk about cults, cryptids, and conspiracies. It's very delightful.
That's right up my alley. I'm going to check that out.
Delightful. But like, cult leaders are very influential people, and like they are very good at getting people to do what they want for their own good 99% of the time. Whether they're aware of it or not, it doesn't matter. They indoctrinate people about whatever they think is the law of whatever religious figure they choose to follow, and usually it doesn't end that well.
It never ends well.
So,
but like, where do you draw the line, right? Because there are a lot of really big and successful like motivational speakers. I'm going to bring up Tony Robbins just because that's kind of like the only one I know. He's the biggest one.
He's the biggest one, and like
but
he's
there's a
the
lot
embodiment
of
a lot of people like who do
Like on YouTube, you'll find like a lot of really big ones that are making millions and millions of dollars doing what they do. It's just that I just know the name Tony Robbins. But anyway, when it comes to him and his followings and other people like him and their followings. There is, some people define them as a cult as well.
Absolutely.
Like, what's the difference, right?
Again, shout out to cults, cryptids, and conspiracies. Chelsea and Christina would say that like what it matters is like the behaviors that people are forced into for a cult. Like, yes, some ideologies can, let's say, be cult-like, because anyone who's like blindly following just one source, you could theoretically say that they're like indoctrinated, right? Someone who just like blindly follows like one source of news, someone who just blindly follows what one friend always says, or like someone who blindly follows whatever their boss or their, parents or their church leader or their, podcast host or whatever. Like that's just the brain not getting any information from any other sources. Like to be in a cult, technically, like there's a checklist. If you go on the internet, you'll find like a cult checklist, which basically means, what kind of behaviors are people forced into? Like there's sleep deprivation, like what are you supposed to wear? Cut all your ties with your family, like a lot of like dietary restrictions, like who are you supposed to have relationships with? And like how is your day scheduled? Because of course, if your day is scheduled very tightly, you don't have time to think. And that makes you like think of things they want you to think, and they don't leave enough time for critical thinking, and then physical work, which makes you exhausted, which makes you less likely to question why things are happening.
So I guess it boils down to how much control are they implementing with you.
Yes, that's correct. So I would say that going to a motivational speaker's like 3-day seminar, you could feel like someone is trying like to sell, quote unquote, their view of the world. But, as long as you're able to get home and like do whatever you want with it, I think that's okay.
Yeah, I guess according to that cult checklist, then it wouldn't be a cult at all then, because like you're totally free to live your life. There's no control.
Right.
I guess where it becomes like shady is, well, not shady, but where a lot of people question, is this kind of like cult-like behavior, is when people are just kind of like blindly like paying ridiculous sums of money for every product, every seminar, every event that this person puts out, right? And they're just like throwing their money at them. Absorbent amount of money. It's like, we're not talking about like, a few $100s.
Have you ever heard of Apple?
Apple, you mean Apple? The company Apple?
Yeah. How many people do blindly throw money?
We're going there now.
We are. I'm not an Apple fan.
Okay.
How many people do blindly throw a ridiculous amount of money for the newest iPhone?
Yeah.
Like, again, I'm not an iPhone fan. I have nothing against the iPhone per se. Okay. It's just that how better is that phone for that price compared to any other phone? Most people don't buy an iPhone because it's a better phone. Most people buy an iPhone because it's an iPhone. And I'm happy to be wrong, but like as someone who doesn't buy Apple products because they're kind of a cult.
I'm struggling here.
All right.
Because because
Sorry?
no. You have nothing to apologize for. I'm only struggling. I'm struggling because I kind of agree with you. But
Good.
that's only because if I didn't agree with you at all, I wouldn't be struggling. I just tell you why.
Right.
But here's where I'm on the fence.
Okay.
Though. Because Apple genuinely does I mean, maybe they've been slipping in the past, year or few, ever since like Steve Jobs passed, maybe. But,
Right.
but I mean, before that, like they were putting out like the best, most innovative, and most user-friendly, best-looking devices out there.
Okay.
Like, I mean, they were
Fair. No, that's fair. Like
So-
nobody questions.
Yeah, so that's
like
fair. So like by putting out the best stuff out there, they got the demand for it, and they got like a loyal customer base for that, which is completely fair. I mean, that's capitalism.
that's
right?
a business. Yeah, that's capital. That's a business, right?
Right. So it's like I equate that to like kind of like Nike. Like I mean, like people are buying Nike sneakers. Well, then you can say Nike fans, people who buy Nike sneakers are a cult. You can say they're cult following because they only buy the Nike sneakers because they're Nikes, right? I mean, they're not. The quality isn't really any different than an Adidas.
Right. I think that it still comes down to intention. Like what you just said is like are you an Apple fan? Like, do you have Apple products?
Yeah, I have an iPhone.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
yeah. I mean, I'm not diehard.
Why did you buy your iPhone?
I bought my iPhone just because of convenience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because of the Apple system.
Yes, because of the Apple system. Also because okay, so here's a funny story. I before this phone I just bought a new iPhone.
Okay.
I tried to switch to the Samsung S20
Okay.
because I wanted to try Android. But then I forgot about the fact that the China Samsung phones and like the international Samsung phones, like you have different access, right?
Right.
So I couldn't like download, like I couldn't get access to like the Western App Store to download VPN and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like unusable for me.
Right.
So I sold that and went back to Apple.
Okay.
Just because of the convenience of it, and there's Apple stores everywhere, and it's just whatever, and I'm familiar with it. Yeah,
Fair. And but you are making all those reasonings, and that's fair.
but I'm not like diehard Apple. Like I don't have to have.
No, but like that's like you like to me that's like enough to justify the choice because you're thinking about that choice. There are people who are genuinely buying an iPhone just because they have to have an iPhone because it looks better, because their friends will judge them if they don't buy an iPhone. That's what I'm criticizing. That's what I'm saying, like, that's cult-like. Because if you're honestly, like, comparing different technology or different ideology or, take the metaphor, whatever you want, if you're honestly comparing and deciding that this one suits you better, power to you. Like, that's all what critical thinking is about. But if you're just saying, oh, well, everybody has an iPhone, so I'm a loser if I don't get an iPhone, that's what a cult-like mentality comes into.
Is that cult though, or is that just name brand? Because that's with any big name brand. I think Apple has become, especially here in China, right? It's become such a name brand item. It's like a luxury product to have an iPhone, right? It's like, oh, I have the newest iPhone. It's like having like a Chanel bag or something like that. I don't know, but it's a fucking name brand, right?
It is, and at the same point, like you're right. Maybe that's not cult. That's just capitalism.
Yeah, well, that's just brand identity.
Right, but like I had, and this is true, I swear. I have a Xiaomi phone. I had Xiaomi phones for the past 4 years. I have a Dell computer. I have a Xiaomi pad. Like I
heard good things about the Xiaomi phone.
The Xiaomi phones are pretty okay. Like you can put the Google Store in it, and that works pretty okay.
But pretty okay isn't exactly selling people on the Xiaomi phone.
I'm not a Xiaomi diehard fan. Like so far for the price I'm paying, I'm getting very good quality, and like I never had any issue with it. If tomorrow a different brand comes out that has like better quality and like cheaper price, I'll buy it.